I recently made a video about Fillout's quiz feature, showing how to enable it and how to use the scores people make to redirect people to specific outcomes you want them to go to. A friend of mine, though, actually approached me for something a little bit more advanced than what the outcomes in Fillout currently allow, and that's trying to create estimates based off of quiz results. So I'm going to be in this video showing how you can build a result through quizzes that create a PDF outcome estimate and then email it to the customer. So if you are my friend or someone else that is in need of a more hands-off approach to generating these estimates, then you come to the right place. Let's get to it. With SmartSuite Solutions. I help save people time by automating the work that they hate by implementing no-code and AI solutions. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down how using SmartSuite can help you start building better automated estimates that you can send to clients without really having to do anything besides the initial build. But before I get started, I want to invite you to a free consultation. I understand that what this is asking for is more time for you to sit down and figure out how to build this yourself. If you really want to implement this, I would love to build this for you and show you the value of how much time you can be saving by automating more of the services than you thought possible. So if you're curious, head to solvecyclesolutions.com/30-minutes. That's a link in the description, or scan the QR code floating around my head, and you can see how much time you can save in just 30 minutes. Let's hop back into my screen now that that housekeeping's out of the way. And I want to just break down quickly what I've set up just in order to save a little bit of time in radio silence. And then some of this is going to be just trying to figure out how to make this particular process work based on the criteria that my friend sent me. Now, I apologize to them because I think there may have been a typo with one question, so I just modified it a little bit to try and make sense of everything. But basically, what I'm going to be trying to collect in these forms is the name, the email, the number of attendees, how many conference days are occurring, and then how many stages will you have. So if this is for a big event, it may be that you have multiple stages going on all at the same time. This is just one of those things that, depending on the size of event planning, you need to be prepared for. Now, to collect this information, SmartSuite does have the options to use their own forms as well. We can open this here, and we could say estimate submission form. And this can be a completely public form that you can share with people, where I could click this toggle on share and copy this so that we can access this via, or anyone can access this via the link. Now, I do have to click and drag a little bit. I can add some additional header elements as well, but for this, I'm just going to make it real simple. I'm going to make it the name, email, number of attendees, how many stages, and how many conference days. So I'm going to put please fill this out so we can give you an estimate. And there we go. That's all set. Now, if I hop over here and paste this into a new page, you'll see that this is going to pull up, and I can put my name in here, Eric Harkness, Eric at SmartSuite Solutions. If I can type it. Man, I am having a rough day with typing today. And then here we see a couple of differences that I've just put in on the front end here. So I want to know how many days the event is occurring. So let's say I want to do 3 to 5. How many stages you have, say 1 to 3. And then number of attendees, let's say 300 to 500. And we're going to submit this information. And that's everything all set on my end. And on the back end here, I have a grid view where I can pull this information all together. And you'll see that basically what I want to be able to do is I have monetary values that I want to tie to each of these answers that allow me to calculate the specific outcomes that I want. So this is going to require a little bit of formula experimentation here to figure out the best approach for this. So in this case, I have on my other screen here, basically this 300 to 500 should equal a cost of around $15,000. And this question of how many conference days we have is actually going to be a multiplier. So basically, this is the amount per day, and we're going to be combining this with how many conference days. So it's really this amount per day will be multiplied here. But then we also have the question of how many stages will you be using, which has a different amount. So this 1 to 3 is going to be about $3,000. So in this case, if I just pull up a calculator here, you'll see that I can add this up myself. So if the criteria here is 15,000 plus 3,000, that equals 18,000 times, we had it as 3 to 5 days. So based off my friend's criteria, that's a 3-time multiplier. So they would need $54,000 to run this event. And again, this is, I modified some things a little bit. I'm sure my friend will let me know I didn't understand the very basics of it if needed, but the point is that we want to figure out how to calculate this and translate that onto a PDF form. So if we want to show each individual cost, we need to create a unique formula. So some of these are going to be easy, or easier, I should say, and we will add a formula field here. And we're going to turn on the advanced editor. There's a lot of different options that you could go through and try and automate some outcome here. Probably the easiest that we're going to try here is by setting up the case formula. So what this is saying is returns a specified value when the first condition is met. So in this case, if I type in case, and we want this to say, we want the specific condition to be how many or number of attendees. So we're going to leave this as is, and then we're going to put the match that we're looking for. So in this case, let me pull up the answers again. So we're going to put in quotes to make sure that it understands this is the specific answer that we're looking for. We're going to put 50 to 100. And I'm going to add the comma, and we're going to put in another quote to put the numeric answer that we're looking for. So in this case, we're putting 5,000. And what I'm probably going to want to do is I'm going to want to put a numerical value here, because this will just allow us to verify that this is an actual number and not a text. So that's set. The next case that we're looking for is going to be the 100 to 300. And we're going to set that again as numeric value. Oops. Just because this is taking a little bit longer, slow typer, I'm probably going to just cut to the end of this, and once we have this set up, or if there's any errors, I'll show you at the end of this cut. That we have gone and set up all the formulas, one thing I do want to point out here is that There was one minor modification that I went ahead and did just to save time that we'll fix later. I removed the 5,000 or the numerical function that was in the formula initially. That isn't doing exactly what it was supposed to do, and we don't always need the quotes for this. The quotes really are supposed to apply to the specific value found in the multi-select field. So this is all set up here so that you can see here all of my data is matching properly with the 100 to 300 is mapping to the particular cost that we want mapped here. The stage cost, I have it set up on the back end as well to show that 1 to 3 days is $3,000, 3 to 5 days is $5,000, and 5+ is $7,000. And then on the day multiplier, we have this set up for, again, 2 days is the multiply value of 2, 3 to 5 is 3, and 5 or more is 5. So now the question is, how do we combine all this together to create our grand estimate? Well, let's open up one last formula here. And I'm going to set up I'm just going to put this as grand estimate total. And from there, I'm going to set up a specific, a couple of different things that we want to do. First, we don't want to use the actual numerical value. We want to use the number function. This is going to convert the values that are text into actual numbers, because if you don't, let me show you this because it is kind of funny actually. So if I were to just do the stage costs and add a plus sign here, there's a couple of things going on here, but let's do attendees cost. If I add that together, it's not going to sum all that together. It's just going to smash these two things together. So it looks like an even larger God-fearing number here. But what I'm going to do is we're going to fix this real quick. I'm going to put number around this particular value. We're actually going to get rid of the plus sign, because the other thing is that even if we had the number set up, it was still going to push them together, because that's just not how this properly works. What we need to do now is set up a sum function around this and just test it to make sure that it's working. Let's close this part out, and you'll see that it is $13,000 for the cost of the attendees, which is $10,000, and the stage cost, which is $13,000. So if I were to go back and change the number of attendees back to 300 to 500, it would go up to 1,800 as this grand total, and everything's automatically changing on its own. Now, the last thing I want to do here is we're going to add this basic multiplication here. So I'm going to group this entire sum. Actually, I don't think we need to do that this time. Let's do this. The sum is adding all those values together. And then what I should just be able to do is add the multiplication sign and then select the day multiplier. Now we're still going to get this error that says we can't argue with a text field. So let's go ahead and add number one more time. And let's update this. So now we see that the grand total is 54,000, which was our initial calculation. So everything is matching perfectly. And if I were to change some things, that value would go up. So this case, it's 90,000. This case, if I bump it down, it's going to readjust to 36. So now that we have this information, the question is, how do we present this and send it so that you don't have to be building these documents or building these estimates yourself? Let's build a quick PDF that may be something you want to make a little more professional, and then let's get that automation set up to send this out quickly. To build this PDF page, we're going to need to click on the drop-down menu underneath this table. So in this case, I'm clicking under the example quiz database. We're going to open up Document Designer. Now, this will allow us to design a specific field that we want to have, or a specific look. We can add the field types that we're looking for, but we also have a bunch of elements that we can use as well. So in this case, I'm going to try and zhuzh up this document a little bit more. Hopefully we can make this work. And I'm going to add a border here. And let's, I'll play around with this a little bit. It may be something that we go in and I will, again, just fast forward through all of this just so you can see how it's built. And from there, we can cut to when this is fixed up. Quick design that I was able to throw together that has listed our attendee costs, which will adjust based on each individual record. And then we have stage cost. We have our per day multiplier, which then shows the grand total. So this is basically the output of that quiz that we have. And this is for my particular initial test record. So I'm going to save this design. And then the last thing that we need to do is I need to create a file and image section, which is going to be the estimate document. I'm going to save this. And then what's going to happen is we're going to create an automation that sends out an email as soon as this information is created. So let's go into the automation section here. I'm going to create a new automation. We're just going to call this estimate outreach. I'm going to say when a record matches these conditions, because we need to know, basically, we need to make sure that the grand total is not empty. So this means that if there's an error, it shouldn't go out, but this is just making sure that we have everything that we need to combine all of the questions that we have. So once that is set up, we can then hit generate a PDF, which will allow us to map this based on the specific conditions that we have. We have the new document. I forgot to rename that. And we can map the person's name here. So it'll say name, event planning estimate. And once that's generated, we can then update the record. We can add the update record, which will then allow us to attach the file for not just from the trigger, but from the use action of the exported PDF. And then from there, either you can send an email from SmartSuite, which will map all the specific info you need, or you can send emails out directly from your Gmail account. So in this case, I'm able to map my Eric Harkness, or my work email. We're going to send this to the email on file, and it says, here is your quote. And this is where we can start mapping out the specific custom field that we're looking for. So again, we can map the name of the person, says, here is your specific estimate for the event you're looking to create. Let me know if you have any questions. And you could also add links to saying, like, if you're ready to take the next steps, book a call with me. And the whole point is that you can send this information out through SmartSuite without having to generate and send out all these emails yourself at once. Now, the last thing we can do is we can upload the specific document here. And then I'm also going to say, just let me know if you have any questions. So we're going to hit turn this on, and we're going to hit add automation. And let's go ahead and start this over from the beginning. So I'm going to send this to my second email that I have. So I'm going to put Mark, no name, and I'm going to put in works@gmail. And then from here, I'm going to say, let's just make this all caps, or all the top value we can possibly have. I'm going to hit submit. So this is all done. And then we'll see this info is added here. I also we'll change that later for the title. But basically, we can look at all the information that's mapped here. We have the attendee cost, we have the stage cost, and we have the multiplier. This is going to be $125,000 venue or estimated total. Now, this automation process does take a little bit more time because the PDF generation is a little bit more labor intensive than the other things are. So let's take a look here, and we can see in the history, you see that this is running. Like I said, this is not that big a deal, but we might have to cut a little bit just because I don't think I can vamp for an estimated amount of time. But you see that some of the actions are already going through, and this should be completed in just a minute and sending the email out. So let's take a look. We have the PDF here, and you'll see that this pulls up with all the info. For whatever reason, my logo isn't attaching. I'm not worried about that right now, but you can see here's the attendee cost, here's the stage cost, the multiplier, and the grand total. And of course, there are ways that you could design this document to make it more enhanced, to be more of what is in your style or what additional info you wish to have attached to that PDF. But then really the most important thing that I need to do right now is check on my secondary email. You can see that this email was sent out immediately and it has the attachment there. Again, this is where you can start customizing things in the email to help make your funnel process even easier. But this is just a quick way to show how you can, in just a very short amount of time here, put together a quiz that allows you to do calculations and to save yourself so much time instead of having to build each estimate for each individual client. Instead, you can just send them this quiz and have that sent to them. And so that covers how you can build this advanced quiz estimate automation inside of SmartSuite. Everything can be done from here. You could, in theory, attach the Fillout forms if you want to have a nicer overview of a form that has a little bit more functionality. But for having the backend calculate all of this and have it run in just seconds is pretty incredible to have completely done for you without having to spend buku amounts of bucks to have a custom coded or even an additional service that does all this for you when it can all be done here inside of one tool. So I hope you got a ton of value out of this, and I also hope that you see practical steps that you can take to start implementing something like this in your business. Please let me know in the comments of this video if you found this useful or if you want to see more content like this. And don't forget that I also have the free 30-minute consultation. If you'd like to have this built by me, I'm happy to do that for you on that call. So don't hesitate there. And please also consider subscribing to the channel. The link to the old video or the original video for how to use the basic quizzes in Fillout is going to be right here, I believe. I think that's where that's going to be pointing. But as always, thank you so much for watching, and this is where I stop.